This is a Ferrari 488 3.9 twin turbo V8, and today we are going to be reviewing the Ferrari 488 from front all the way to the back. So just a bit of background to the Ferrari 488. The car replaced the 458, being the first mid-engine Ferrari to use a turbocharger V8 since the F40. Then it was succeeded later on by the Ferrari F8. The 488 is powered by a 3.9 litre twin turbo V8 engine, smaller in displacement but generating a higher power output than that of the 458 naturally aspirated engine. Claimed by the manufacturer, performance for the 488 GTB is 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.2 seconds, 0 to 200 kilometers an hour in 8.3 seconds, and of course covering the quarter mile in 10.45 seconds and reaching a top speed of 330 kilometers an hour. So let's have a look at the design of the Ferrari 488, starting up front. And as you will note, a beautiful splitter right down below, a beautiful design, very large air intakes to cool the rear V8 engine, and then of course these massive front LED headlights, and then of course we've got the water sprayers to clean the front of the headlights, of course, and then of course the xenon lighting system. So a beautiful design. All of that design criteria comes from the 458, the earlier naturally aspirated Ferrari. And then as we move across, we have of course the yellow Scuderia badge, beautiful addition, of course, just to remind you that you have a Ferrari 488. And then as we move around, let's have a look at the side profile of the 488. And of course we start with these incredibly beautiful mags mounted on the P0s, 20-inch mag wheels, beautiful design. And then of course we have the carbon ceramic rotors, 18-inch carbon ceramic rotors to make sure that you could stop at high speed. And then of course the Brembo Ferrari yellow rotors, beautiful design, matching all of the yellow accents. The Ferrari center badge matching the accents, as you can see, and then of course matching the Scuderia badge, the traditional Scuderia badge on the Ferrari 488. Beautiful design. And then of course it is clad in Pirelli P0s, fantastic high-speed rubber, a beautiful design on the 488. And then as we move down, we have the beautiful mirrors originating from the Ferrari F40. There we can see that. Moving down, beautiful sculpting into the massive air vent. There you can see it, left and right, of course, to ensure the cooling of the 3.9 twin turbo V8 engine. Beautiful sculpting. And then of course we have the fuel tank, or the fuel filler cap. And then as we move around, we have the traditional Ferrari round headlights, very reminiscent of the Ferrari Enzo. There we go, really beautiful lights, and it really gives the Ferrari its Ferrari look, if I could say. And then of course when we move around, we have the traditional Ferrari prancing horse. We can't not have the prancing horse at the rear. And just to remind everybody that you're driving a Ferrari, there we go. And then of course, as I said earlier, the Ferrari logo right on top. And then of course you have your beautiful 3.9 twin turbo V8 engine, beautifully done with a glass top, so that you can appreciate that Ferrari engine when you walk by. A beautiful design. And then when you're in the cabin, you can also see that Ferrari engine in your rear view mirror. And then when we move down, we've got this beautiful bumper, also done in the Ferrari red. And then we've got an exhaust left and right, beautiful round exhaust, really powerful muscular exhausts. And then of course we have the rear reverse light, and then of course this massive Venturi providing the necessary airflow under the 488. A beautiful and aggressive design on the rear of this beautiful, spectacular red Ferrari 488. Let's just check out the engine of the 488, and also very similar to the Ferrari F430 and the 458. The F430 has the button up on the side here for the rear engine cover, where the 488 has it down below here, just next to the seat. That is the button for the rear trunk or the rear engine cap. So let's open that up. There we go. And let's go and check out that beautiful engine. So in this particular 488, you have your glass cover. Just check that out. So it's a complete glass cover with you can see the heating lines included. So there you can see your engine. It's running at the moment. And let's just open it up and you can check it out. So you can see all my hand marks on here. But anyway, let's just open that up. And there we go. She's busy running at the moment, so it's a bit noisy. But there you can see the 488 badge, 488 GTB. And then of course all the traditional things that I showed you earlier on. You've got your two turbos. There's the turbo on the left and the turbo on the right. Then you have your oil filler cap. And then you have your traditional Ferrari engine. The two beautiful crackle red, beautifully done there. And then of course you've got that little window from the cabin so you can check out your beautiful engine. And just a beautifully designed engine, like Ferrari always does. And beautifully put together in the rear or mid-engined Ferrari 488. And then when you close that up, just check this out, how beautiful it looks. Close that up. And there's your engine. So when you're walking around your 488, just check that beautiful engine in the back of this beautiful Ferrari. So how do we open our Ferrari 488? Traditional doors. So we have a electronic key, beautifully done in the red Ferrari color, the same body color as the Ferrari. Beautiful Ferrari logo, of course. And then when we turn over the key, we have all of the controls. You have your lock and unlock button, and then you also have a button for your rear trunk. There we go. And then of course you also have your manual key. Should your electronic system fail, you can use your electronic key. There we go. And then we'll insert it again. There we go. So should you need that, then you have that. So let's have a look at how the door opens, and we'll move closer to the door. And let's open the car. So we push the open button, and there we go. That indicates that the car is now open. And then let's have a look at this beautifully sculptured handle, beautiful door handle on the Ferrari 488, beautifully designed. And then of course, as I mentioned earlier, you have the manual key. So should you want to open that, your electronic system fails, there we go. You can open it with that. Fits back into the key beautifully. So let's open her up. Very traditional doors. There we go. Quite long doors overall. And then of course, there we go, very traditional design. You've got your Ferrari footplate, and then of course a beautifully sculpted leather interior. The dashboard specifically beautifully sculpted in charcoal leather with yellow stitching, beautifully put together. Let's check out the door panels of the 488. Very similar to the earlier of the 458, and you'll see the black or charcoal leather panel doors with the yellow stitching, beautiful design. This is a fake speaker, it's not a real speaker. And then of course you have your airbag, you can see the airbag signage there. And then of course a similar door handle to the 458, there we go. And then of course large storage bins on the doors, so you've got lots of storage available on both doors, left and right. And then of course you have your petrol cap opener, there we go. That opens up the petrol cap on the right hand side, and then of course the front trunk button. And then in this particular Ferrari we have the JBL hi-fi system, beautifully done, really nicely integrated into the door. And then of course this is the mirror control, so you want to move the mirror on the right, you move it across, and there we go. And then that is the neutral or the neutral position. And then of course when you want to do the passenger side mirror, you can do that as well. So also very nicely designed, integrates nicely with the design and the rest of the dashboard. So let's check out the dashboard and the steering and the interior of the 488. and I've got to say it's still very similar to the earlier model, which is the 458. So let's start on the right hand side, and here we go. You'll see you've got a sound button, and then of course you've got your various controls for your dash that controls the various different options on the dash, and then of course you've got your sound button. There we go, very nicely done, I've got to say, nicely designed, integrates really nicely with the overall dashboard. And then you've got your air vent on the far right, and you'll note the beautiful yellow stitching again. So we move a little bit further on, and then you've got your main gauge cluster, or the center gauge cluster. Very traditional Ferrari. There you go, you've got your rev counter in the center. I've got to say that's very traditional, beautiful yellow. And then of course on the right and the left we've got the various LCD screens with the various options for the control of the car. And then of course we have the steering, and then of course you have your little LED lights which indicates when you need to change the gears. There we go. And then of course you have your traditional Ferrari branching horse. You've got to have that, your airbag, and then of course the hooters in the center. And then you've got your light switch, and then of course you've got your indicators left and right. And of course in this particular one, or Ferrari, we have the integrated carbon fiber, which is nicely done. And then of course you've got your suspension controls, your start button, and then of course you've got your Maranello switch, which we'll have a look at now. And then you've got your windscreen wipers. So most of everything on the steering. And of course, just to correct myself earlier, the hooter's not here, it's actually in the steering, left and right. There we go. So let's start her up so you guys can hear that beautiful sound. So here we've got the start button, traditional start button. There we go. So let's give it a start. There we go. And you've got that beautiful Ferrari 488 sound as it starts up. There we go. And then of course you can see the rev counter, and then of course we'll move down a little bit further, and then you'll see the air vent on the far side, which is on left and right. You've got the vent on this side, on the right side, and then you've got another vent on the left side. And then when you move down, we also have the controls for the dash, and you can see there you've got a pit switch which provides you can set your pit lane speed. And then of course you've got your turbo switch, you've got your VDA, and then of course you can move it back up and down. So if you look at the screen, you can see all of that moving on the screen. And then when we move further down, you'll see all of the controls for the climate control system. And it's very traditional, same as the 58, the earlier model, hasn't changed much, all very traditional. And you have your temperature controls, your auto, your air conditioning button over there, and then your fan controls, your speeds, etc. And then similarly, so left and right, you've got your two buttons to control the temperature, and then of course the fan control buttons. And then once again, I've got to show you this beautiful dashboard, and there you can see the 488 badge. There we go, 488 GTB, beautiful. And then of course you can see the vent on the far left hand side of the door. And then as you move down, you'll see all of those beautiful yellow stitchings going through. And then of course we also have a traditional glove box in here, which is really great. And then of course on the door, like I've showed you earlier on, you have your storage pocket there as well. So that's that. And then when we move down, once again, also very traditional Ferrari, same as the earlier models of 458. You have your reverse button, you have your auto button, you can drive it in auto, and then of course you've got your launch control button. And then of course you have your hazard button, and then you have a little storage pocket up front here. You can put your key in there. So let's show you how that works. The key fits in nicely over there. There we go. Let me just get that round. You can actually see that really nice little pocket. You can store your key, all in a sort of a velvety finish. And then when we move down, we've got the window controls. There we go, left and right. Beautiful Ferrari logo. And then we've got a nice little storage pocket in the back here, also done in that sort of velvety material. And then we have another charge port with a green light that lights up at night. And then when we move further up, you'll see that storage bin I spoke about earlier on. And then as we move up to the back wall where the engine is, you'll see there are two storage pockets, like you could put in various items should you wish to put them in here, in sort of like basketball nets. Here we go. You can store items in there. And then of course you have the window at the rear where you can see that beautiful Ferrari 488 engine, a beautiful design, so you can see that in your rear view mirror when you're driving. A real beautiful experience. Okay, so as I promised, we're going to look at the various drive modes of the 488. So let's start her up so we can check that out. There we go. And then of course, as you will remember, on most Ferraris you've got very similar drive modes. You've got your wet mode, all right, there we go. And then you've got your sport mode, your race mode, and you'll hear the sound of the exhaust change just slightly. And then you've got your CT off, and then of course you've got your EC off as well, ESC off. That's your Maranello switch. And as I mentioned earlier, the windscreen wipers are there. And then what I forgot to show you earlier was then you've got your lift button. So the car is very low on the front, so you can lift her up should you require going over a very a low driveway. And there you'll see it'll change on the dashboard. Let me just go a little bit closer there, and there we go. You can see there the lift is in operation, and then we'll switch it off, and there it's back to normal. So got to have that in the 488 due to the lowness of the front end of the vehicle. So that's the lift on the front axle. And then when we move down to the far side here, we have the light switch for the headlights, and then below we have the parking brake. So you push that and it goes into park. And then there's nothing else that I've forgotten to show you. Oh yes, of course, there is one little air vent, a strange little air vent just underneath the gauge cluster, which you can't really see in the dark, but there it is. Very unusual design. But it integrates nicely with the dashboard. So that is the dashboard and the various buttons on the 488. Okay, so just very briefly, let's just check out the seats in this 488. They've got the sport seats, beautifully done in charcoal leather with the yellow stitching. There we go, and you can see the electric controls on the side of the sport seats. There we go. But beautiful design. You'll see the yellow stitching in the base of the seat and in the rear backrest. And then of course what I really enjoy is the beautiful prancing horse in the top of the seat. There we go, beautifully done, really fantastic looking seats. And then of course they've got this gap over here. I think that's the sports seat design, very similar in the 458 as well. And then when you want to pull the seats forward, you've got this little toggle here. You can move that forward. There we go. Let me just my finger out there, and there we go. So you've got that space in the back should you want to put something long in the back, or you could put them in those basketball nets, if you can call them that. So there we go, really nicely done. And you'll see the stitching runs at the back as well, really nicely done. And there we go. So those are the seats, very simple, nothing really fancy. Beautiful yellow stitching, and then obviously it applies to the dashboard as well, as I mentioned earlier. And the ceiling is done in Alcantara, yeah, and then the sun visors are also done in the yellow stitching. So a really nice interior, really nice place to be actually, and the seats are actually very comfortable. And then of course, as far as storage is concerned, I've shown you all the pockets in the cabin doors, and then of course the gov blocks, and then you got the front trunk, and then you just got a little button here, as I mentioned earlier on, a little button, and you push that and you'll hear the front trunk open. So let's go and check that out. There's the door once again. Let me open up and let's go and check the front trunk and the space that it provides. So let's move around. let's go and check out the front trunk or frunk, whatever you'd like to call it. So let's just open that up. There we go. I just need to find that little emergency or the safety switch. There we go. So we don't have a spare tire option in here, but what we do have is the car cover in here at the moment, and then we have the Ferrari battery charger, the trickle charger, and then of course we have the little pump which assists when you have a flat tire, and then of course if you have a puncture you also have all the equipment to fix the puncture, and then of course you have all the personalized specifications in the front trunk as well, and there you can see 488 GTB, and then you can see all the systems, or sorry, all the options that were chosen in the vehicle when it was bought. So you have the adaptive front light system, yellow brake calipers, electric seats for example, sports exhaust system, and so on and so forth. So everything that was put into this vehicle is recorded here. And then when we move out, you will note that it's not a bad sized trunk. It doesn't have the spare wheel option in here, so you have enough space to probably put in 2 carry-on luggage items or soft bags. So not too bad in the front of the 488, quite a nice size boot area. So there you go, this is the Ferrari 488, a beautiful car, low mileage, a stunning looker in the beautiful red, the Ferrari red, and it's available here at Millstock Cars in Cape Town, South Africa. And should you be interested in this spectacular red 488 3.9 litre turbo, I will leave the necessary link below, but just check out this beautiful car, beautifully sculpted, a beautiful design, the first 488 turbocharged Ferrari, a beautiful design, and as I said earlier, available at Millstock Cars in Cape Town, South Africa. So there you go. If you liked our video, don't forget to give us the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.